For checking the markets, let's bring in Karen Kavanaugh, the Chief Investment Officer at Carolina's Wealth Management, and Dana Doria, the Co-Chief Investment Officer of Envestnet. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us. Dana, I want to start off with you, seeing that we've seen a very, very strong snapback rally in Chinese tech stocks, and you like emerging markets. And I'm wondering how you sort of parse through that. China's obviously a big part of EEM in general. So do you see the worst being over in terms of the regulatory efforts by Chinese government?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I would say that we work with a lot of managers in Envestnet, so managers who are have a lot of insight in country. They're not focused very much on, in spite of the fact that we did see the government crack down on both tech as well as the education sector, they were viewing it pretty much as a buying opportunity and expected to see exactly this kind of snapback. So they weren't looking at it as likely that we would have the government cracking down and it would be a sign of increasing efforts in that area. So far so good in terms of the expectation on that front.
I think what was interesting in yesterday's news is that the Chinese government was taking a stake in ByteDance, putting a person from the government on the board of ByteDance, and the possibility is that the government could extend their tentacles, so to speak, and do that for other companies as well, Dean. I'm wondering if that changes your view at all, if a member of the Communist Party is actually sitting on the boards of some of these companies that make up the biggest Chinese tech stocks.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. And, you say, okay, well, what's the expectation on balance? I think it's important to take a step back and look at what is the risk of the emerging markets index and China in that index. China is a very big percentage of that index. And we also see that the index has changed a lot over time. It's moved from more of a cyclical focus in terms of the countries and the types of sectors that are in there to more of a tech focus. So you do have a certain amount of concentrated risk between China and North Asian economies that are very tech focused. So I think the way to approach it as a strategic investor is probably to sort of hedge your bets and diversify, maybe a cap on how much you have in China, even if the index has an increasing, 30, 40% weight to China.
Karen, getting back stateside, you like materials and industrials. So your outlook for the reopening is, how would you characterize it? Strong? Decent?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're still going to see that reopening trade and so that things are moving along. If we have an infrastructure bill, then obviously materials and industrials will be a beneficiary of that. But I think that across the board, we've seen investors rotate to different sectors. I still like tech. I still like consumer discretionary. And I still think there's a lot of value in the market because earnings are so strong. I mean, we just came off second quarter and we saw almost 100% increase in earnings. And we see a strong third quarter earnings. So that earnings growth is going to continue to sustain the market.
Discretionary is very broad. It includes a lot of different things, Karen, from media stocks to home builders to retailers. So what within discretionary do you like?
Well, I think I like the retailers. I think because consumers, they're getting out there and they're spending. And yes, they're spending on services. But I think that we've seen that traffic in indoor stores is also going up. And it's higher than in 2019 for a lot of the outdoor malls, which makes sense. So I think that I would say that a lot of those retailers that we've kind of passed over are saying, hey, the consumer is not really going out. Well, the consumer still is very strong. And they have a lot of discretionary income. And I know that retail sales was a little bit of a miss this past month, but hey, it's been growing at quite so much. And if you look at the overall numbers, our overall retail sales are a lot higher than they were in 2019, just on an absolute level.
All right, Karen, Dana, thanks so much.